Hello, I'm Dan Naylor, an online PhD student in history at Liberty University in HIUS713. It's July 2026. This is the video defense of my paper entitled Boeing in Historical Perspective, Patterns of Risk, Reinvention and Crisis, or the Ups and Downs of Boeing. And there were many. Here's the research question being addressed. What distinctive patterns of innovative behavior emerged within Boeing as it responded to organizational and technological challenges, almost all of them external. The significance of the research question is today, 2026. Boeing is the aerospace company in the United States, and 100%, I dare say, of my audience have flown in a Boeing. Boeing products were instrumental in winning, that is, winning the Second World War, not holding the Germans and Japanese to a standstill, but actually getting in on the strategic bombs and the atomic bombs and shortening the war and saving lives. Key primary sources used and principal research methodology is, my research method was a triangulated source critical methodology. I used authoritative government archives, Boeing corporate publications, and secondary scholarly and industry writers with cross-verification of the sources. My favorite was the Boeing company's chronology, certainly kept everything in order. I used primary source photographs of official records from the U.S. Senate and FDR's executive orders for that awful Depression period. Sources abounded because everyone loves to write about aerospace and aircraft, and also Smithsonian's and other museums had a great deal to say. There was a dichotomy. Some writers said that the government kept Boeing in business. Other sources said that it was Boeing's innovation and fierce competition. So this speaks in the course readings to the tension between capitalism and central political power that Mitchell and Schluter talk about on page 179. When governments, so here's the question, when governments provide military contracts for private industry, is the government actually saving entire companies? Well, you could make a case on either end. I'd like to give you a summation of the research findings, 3 innovative episodes. If you're looking for a really tidy encapsulation and a steady state, I will disappoint you. Boeing history is untidy, if not bizarre, from earliest times right up to the very present. Boeing in World War I first. Boeing got military contracts. World War I ended. Boeing lost the vast majority of the contracts and had to innovate, to building boats and to making furniture, if you can believe that. But they innovated and kept themselves in the aviation business, gradually winning things back. They went they got themselves some lucrative airmail contracts and began to start building aircraft again. In terms of the class readings, I'd like to tie in the Romer article on page 204, where the author talks about the congruence between scale, plentiful resources, and technology coming together in the United States to produce industrial growth, as it did with Boeing. Second innovative episode, the Depression hit. The airline industry, as certain other industries like healthcare, they were doing well. And then the government, the federal government, went after them, hammer and tongs, canceled the airmail contracts, put the Army into doing the airmail contracts, at which point there were a very large series of crashes, lots of deaths. However, the federal government set up in 1934 some legislation that increased the size of government, which of course is always the answer, isn't it? Eventually, the federal government passed that Airmail Act of 1934, Federal Aviation Commission. But in 1941, the courts absolved Boeing of any blame. This isn't a scandal, it was a shenanigan by the Roosevelt administration. And I'm really inspired in terms of the course readings by Dr. Schweikert's video, What Can Be Done with a History Degree. I would like to write a popular account entitled How the Roosevelt Administration Extended the Depression. Our third example is how Boeing, it made bombers during World War II, used them to great effect. They were extremely innovative. When peacetime came, Douglas had eaten Boeing's lunch. They were the kings of transport, and so it took something like 10 to 15 years for Boeing finally to get its 707 into place and become the premier aerospace manufacturer. Just in closing, none of these aircraft here from World War II is a Boeing, but all of these companies all went out of business or were absorbed by Boeing. And one of my great sources is the Second World Wars by Victor Davis Hanson. Thanks for listening.